Hey, it's late in the afternoon and I haven't uploaded a video for the last 2 days. I have some big projects on the boil, but I really enjoy finding time just to speak to you like this. You know, just you there and me here, and we talk about our stuff. And when I don't do that, I miss it. I really miss it. Things are pretty wild here, but I thought I'll just talk to you anyway. I have told you about the projects I have planned. I have the one with Joanne from Relax for a While, and I really want to get that right. And I have a hypnosis that I'm planning and vegetable crunching. All of those take quite a lot of setting up and quality sound. And when I do little chats like this one, I just throw the camera in front of me and the microphone here, and there isn't any planning. So I just wanted to touch base with you. Perhaps you'd like to get a cup of coffee or tea and just take a load off, sit down, let's have a chat. You've asked me several questions and I thought I'd go through some of those questions, and then I would talk to you a little bit about yourself. I loaded, I think yesterday, a 4-hour rain video, and the rain's on my tin roof, but when I say but, the rain is a harsh sound on the tin roof. But I wanted to load it because I use that sound to comfort myself when I'm trying to go to sleep, and sometimes I struggle with sleep because I overthink things. And then somehow at night, it's like a mouse running on a treadmill, and the more you run, the faster the treadmill goes, and you can't kind of get off. So I'll have a thought, and at night the thought gets bigger and bigger, and then I think about it and gets bigger and bigger. And by listening to theta and delta waves and binaural waves, and also listening to sounds like the ocean or rain, I find that it calms my mind. I'm someone by nature, I'm highly passionate, fairly reactive, and a strong character, I guess. I research and study everything that I believe to make sure that it is a reasonable point of view. But one of the things I battle with in life is that I'm so passionate. And sometimes, a lot of the time, it's a good idea just to try and relax. We're a balance, so we have the animal side, which is the limbic brain, and the limbic or animal side of us gives us the impetus to be motivated. So our animal brain helps us be motivated, and that's mouth breathing. Motivation is mouth breathing. And then in order to relax or in order to sleep, that's the cerebral cortex, and that's nasal breathing. Nasal breathing calms us down. And the cerebral cortex is the reasoning part of our head, which helps us work through issues. The animal side is the reactive fight or flight, wanting comfort, the knee-jerk reaction, the anger, the quick response to a situation. We need both sides. If we didn't have our animal side, we'd have very little motivation. If we didn't have our cerebral cortex or our consciousness or our enlightened or higher self, we'd just be animals doing whatever animals want to do. So we've got the two sides and they talk to each other. I'm very, I spend a lot of time thinking, and sometimes that affects my sleep. And when it affects my sleep, I listen to comforting sounds, repetitious sounds, or I focus on repetitious activities. So I might have a practice where I'll go through and look at something, a candle or a hypnotic wheel or a beautiful stone or a statue, and I'll look and take in the sight. I'm looking at the sight, I'm looking at the features of what I see, and I focus on sight, focus on sight. Then I might focus on sounds, focus, take in, experience sounds. Then I might go to taste. Then I may go to texture and go through the different senses. By focusing on the different senses of an experience, it takes me away from my rumination. So if you allow your brain to over-ruminate, you might say something like, let me see, what will I do? I'm worried about my children. They don't complete any chores. If they don't complete any chores, they won't learn how to achieve a task. If they don't learn to achieve a task, they may not learn to get a job or hold down a job. If they don't learn to complete a task, perhaps they won't learn how to commit to a relationship. If they don't commit to quality relationships, will they ever be happy? Oh my goodness, they need to learn how to complete a task. I'm not teaching them properly how to commit to a task, how to complete that task. So I take a small issue and it becomes bigger. Now the way it becomes bigger is quite reasonable. It's a reasonable flow of thought to think they're not completing the tasks and to look at the consequences. But there's times and places to just sit in this moment right now. I'd like to do more work on that, more work on us being in the present for a lot of reasons. When you write to me, I can see that it's an issue, that it's something you're grappling with. And, oh, holy broccoli, I think about different facets of my life, and then I overthink them and overthink them and overthink them, and sometimes I just have to stop and say, meditate, and then accept the meditation that I have on that particular day. I am still training with Tom, and that training has succeeded in helping me move correctly again. Because I need a hip replacement, I haven't been able to move correctly with my right side for some years. And it's amazing that with Tom I've learned how to move correctly again. And by taking my hip through that normal range of motion, it's flooded me with a sense of well-being. I feel happy because I can move correctly now. And I'm not just happy, I'm like ecstatic. I think, whoa, I can move properly. Isn't this wonderful? And that makes me feel really happy to do so. So the training with Tom is going really well. I generally train twice a day. Weight training is massive in my life. When I was younger, I did struggle with my weight. So by weight training, I feel invigorated. I feel good about myself. It means I can eat more food, and it makes me feel strong and resilient. This morning I was worried about the children, thinking they just don't do any chores. They don't do many chores, rather. It's important not to catastrophize. So I went to the gym, which is like 300 metres down the road, and I got on the treadmill. or cross. And by the end of the 30 minutes, I thought, I can do this. I can do this. It's just one step at a time. But the way I do it is when I'm on the treadmill, I meditate. Not a meditation so I fall off the treadmill, but I say to myself, breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Think about the step of walking one step at a time on a treadmill. Focus on your spinal alignment, your shoulders rolled back and down, and focus on your breath. Think about the action of breathing. Focus on the walking. Focus on the rhythm, the repetition of the walking. So I find I get my headspace right into the repetition. And it almost, you know how you go to sleep, it almost lulls my brain back into calm by focusing on repetition, on focusing on the senses. And that's why I like the treadmill, because there's nothing, I can watch the TV, but I generally don't. And I generally don't take my earphones because then I end up watching the news and the whole thing has no purpose then. I want to relax on the treadmill, so I meditate on the treadmill, and I also meditate doing sit-ups. So I get a medicine ball and I hit this trampoline. So I come up, hit the trampoline, the mini tramps, they lie down, hit the mini tramp, and I use my breath. So breathe in through the nose and then throw the medicine ball. Breathe out through the nose. Breathe in through the nose, throw the medicine ball. Breathe out through the nose. Breathe in through the nose, throw the medicine ball, and breathe out. And I find that it relaxes me to do sit-ups, and it brings my mind back to a sense of calm. So when my mind's bouncing around thinking, I'll never achieve this, I think about the action of a sit-up. What's my body doing? What's my spine doing? What is my breathing doing? Is my forehead relaxed? And I travel through the senses: sight, sound, touch, breath. Everything comes back to breath. And for me, I'm not a relaxed person. And that's why ASMR and meditation are not only good for me, but I have strong empathy for people that struggle to relax, because I come from a family of high achievers, and I come from a family that at times experience anxiety. So ASMR and meditation, I'm one of those ones that's really done the work, walked the journey. So when you write to me and you say you feel anxious, I get it. So thank you for asking. The personal training is going very well, and my spirits are lifting with it. It's wonderful. And I also enjoy the treadmill and sit-ups as well. Annabeth sent me a couple of messages last night on my last video. I can't remember which one she commented on. I think it was my intimate talk with me. And she asked me about expectation, because I talked to you a little bit about expectation in my last video. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this. There's something I'm not keen on, and it's when you have books or philosophers or people saying that it's important that you detach. These are the things they say, and I've said them too. It's important that you detach from relationships. It's important you don't need relationships. It's important you don't have expectation. It's important that you don't have shoulds. He should do this, she should do that, or musts. She must do that. Now, the background behind that is that, so you understand the background behind that, it's important that we control our own feelings. And if we expect someone else to be a certain way, or expect them to behave in a certain way or have certain values, we essentially give away our control over our happiness. So we no longer have control over our happiness because we expect someone else to deliver that happiness to us. They must do this. She should do that. I expect her to do that. So we give away our whole happiness away. And that means that our happiness is just like a gamble, Russian roulette. It's unlikely to happen. We need to create our own happiness. And that's what research suggests. Cognitive Behavioural Therapy suggests that we create our own happiness. Awesome, great idea. Where that falls down, it doesn't completely fall down, but where it falls down in a way is that we're a social animal. Therefore, we thrive in relationships. So if we take that argument to the nth degree, that we need to be completely detached from people, that we need to have no expectations of others, then we have, a world full of sociopaths. In order for a relationship to function, there needs to be some expectations. It's about moderating those expectations and trying to reduce our expectations of others and trying to work towards accepting in others. And again, we need to temper that too, because if we love unconditionally, and let's look at what loving unconditionally means. I love you no matter what you do to me. I love you with no conditions at all. To love unconditionally is to love with no conditions. What does that look like? Well, I love you if you hit me. I love you if you swear at me. I love you if you're unfaithful to me. I love you if you're not punctual. I love you if you're deceitful. Is that what we want? I think we need to temper that. And yes, we can love unconditionally. I can love you if you're unfaithful to me, but I won't be with you anymore. I'll love you and be away from you forever. I will still love you if you verbally abuse me, but I won't spend any time with you ever again. I love you from afar with no contact. I accept that you're not capable of change, and as such, I choose to live a life away from you, but I do wish you well. I'm not saying you always live away from someone. I'm saying you have your own boundaries. Loving unconditionally does not mean that you get trampled underfoot. And that's what I meant by the balance when I was talking about balance in my last chatty video. So you need to work out what the boundaries are. Perhaps you accept that your partner or your friend cannot put the coffee cup away. They just can't do it. Perhaps you accept that they're not capable of being on time. Maybe that's okay. Perhaps you don't accept that someone is violent or abuses you or infidelity. I'm picking 3 strong deal breakers. Maybe you've got others. Maybe punctuality is so important to you. You need to look at what you're going to be able to live with for the rest of your life. And why it's so important that you know what your boundaries are. Because if someone steps on your boundaries, you are effectively less capable of loving others. So it's important we don't put all our eggs in one basket. It's important that one person doesn't become our happiness. And I think that humans are very romantic. I know I am. We're romantic by nature, so we want a soulmate. It's a lovely idea. I love it. Very romantic. I'm very roses and romantic dinners. But we need to look at what is sustainable. And yes, have a romantic significant other. But where else is your happiness coming from? It needs several streams. Why? Because if we have several sources of happiness, then we're in a better position to give to others. And that is the meaning of life. The meaning of life is a cycle of giving and receiving, reciprocity, and that's how a society, that is a whole conversation itself. That is a very exciting topic, by the way. The cycle of reciprocity. I love that movie Paying It Forward, and I thought we'll do some work on that at some time. I might finish off in a moment. I have more content to load soon, but I wanted to touch base with you and say, how are you? Are you walking? Are you walking daily? Remember, it doesn't have to be long walks. Are you getting into the gym almost daily? Do you have a sleep ritual to wind down? Are you protecting yourself from abuse from others? Are you involving yourself in loving relationships? Are you eating well, eating food that feeds your soul? Are you doing something each day that you enjoy? And each and every day, are you focusing on the breath? I find that so fascinating because every time I do it, I find that my throat is constricted. Perhaps my forehead or the top of my head is constricted. So by breathing, I come back to a sense of self and grounding. Once you've learnt to breathe, then you can focus on sight, looking at a candle, sound, focusing on the beauty of sound, taste, really experiencing food, i.e. the crunchy vegetables video, which will come up soon. And when we do that, we actually rest our brain so that we can go back with clarity and self-awareness back to the issue and therefore give more to the people around us. It's not easy, and I find it a daily challenge. So every morning when we wake up, we're a new person, and we get to know ourselves afresh each day because there's different circumstances, a different environment every day. I've started to call you all gentle souls, and I've done that kind of like a projection because I think it's important that we all work towards being gentle souls. I'm not always a gentle soul, but I work towards being a gentle soul, and the right answers and the meaning of life comes from a gentle approach. So I'll have more content up soon. I really appreciate your support. Please subscribe. I value your subscriptions and they significantly help me. I have my podcast, my virtual wellness centre, and my book out there on daily rituals for happiness. And I have the Patreon page as well if you want free downloads. Remember to breathe. Before I finish, let's go through 4 rounds of breath. In through the nose and out through the nose. Thank you for listening and giving me your precious time.